Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Olabisi. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about how to prepare effectively for your steering committee meeting as a project leader. So if you are very much interested in learning, definitely keep watching. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, and to leave a comment. Okay, so steering committee, love them, hate them, they are part of every project leader's life. Yes. So here's the thing. So most people treat steering committee like it's a reporting meeting, but actually they are not. They are decision making meetings. So I have, in my experience as a product manager, I have presented to, or I've worked with dozens of steering committee meetings that includes managing directors, chief financial officers, risk leaders, strategy leader, transformation leaders, and I've learned that with the right system and structure, you can prepare effectively and have a fantastic session. Yes, so I'm going to be sharing exactly how I do it, so in my framework. So if you're very much interested in learning, I will try to put a link to the frameworks in the comment section. So step one is you need to ask yourself these three questions. One is, before I even start, are we on track? So you need to be able to understand your project, know the status of your project. Are you currently in track or not? What could go wrong? Yes, the good, the bad, the ugly, but what could possibly go wrong? Three is, what do I need from this room? What do I need from this room? What do I need from the meeting? So like an outcome. What kind of outcome are you looking at? So try as much as possible. If are questions you cannot exactly answer, look at your also team members, have a conversation with your supervisors and stuff, and try as much as possible not to skip this as much as possible. And then we will move down to our presentation. So I try to ensure that I have a framework to the presentation, and depending on your own kind of style, but what works for me is to ensure that no matter the number of my presentation, I try to, as much as possible, to include status of the previous meeting, what were the discussions, what were the action items, what are the current status of those action items as discussed in the previous meeting. And then I move on to the focus of this meeting, which is an executive summary, how the projects are doing, the project health or the portfolio health, what are the key wins, what are the top risks that we're looking at. Depending on you, steering committee can be quarterly, it can be monthly, it can be twice every 6 months, or it can even be yearly. It depends on your organization. So another thing to include in your deck is portfolio. You want to include your portfolio at a glance, and that includes like simple dashboards using different colors, green, yellow, amber, red, to indicate the level of your project per time. You also want to include at-risk projects, so you want to ensure risk status of all your projects and what are the mitigation plans. This is very, very important. So another thing you want to include is you want to do a deep dive. So you want to pick a particular project or a topic and you want to do a deep dive, just trying to ensure that your stakeholders are on the same page with you. Another thing you want to include is your vendor performance. How are your vendors performing? Are they delivering or are they not delivering? But of course, also try as much as possible to also include your action plan, especially if you have vendors that are currently not performing. So another thing to include in your slide is your KPM dashboard, your KPI dashboard. So that's your key performance indicator dashboard, and that's what just shows your metrics that matters. So you want to look at your metrics that really matter at that point in closing or your remark. So your closing, what are your expectations, what are you bringing forward? In some cases, some people include budget, how well your projects are performing as against the budget. So if you also want to include that, that is very much welcome. And then you'll be able to take rooms for questions, and then any decisions that or feedback that you're going to get from your stakeholders. So one thing I also like to at like before the meeting is try as much as possible to have a session with your team, just that we are in the same page, because there could be cases of or meetings that would have tough questions. So tough questions, you need to be very prepared for tough questions. So tough questions can include someone you a question that you don't expect, so you have to be prepared as much as possible from all fronts, just to be sure that you are prepared. And so what do you then do when you are being asked a tough question? So what I recommend is, first and foremost, don't be too quick to answer. Take a pause, yes, 2 seconds, show that you are actually thinking about it and you're not in a hurry to actually give an answer. Another step is to acknowledge. So you can acknowledge and say, that's a fair question, that's an excellent question, very brilliant question, whatever the English you want to use. Another thing is, step 3 is to answer the question behind the question. So for example, when they ask what's the delay, they are really asking like, what do I need to tell the board, or what do I need to tell my, like, how do we technically, and ensure that you give them that. You want to be as straight and try not to beat around the bush. So if you do not have questions or answers to their question, don't be afraid to say, I'll circle back on that, I'll give you a feedback on that within the next 24 hours, within the next 48 hours, within the next 1 week. And most importantly, ensure you do that. Yes, actually ensure that you do them. So now that you're prepared, you've done your presentation, you've gotten the feedback, what else do you then do? You do a post-meeting follow-up. And what does that include? Actually, that's where part 2 of the real work commences. So in the next 1 hour, 30 minutes to 1 hour, try as much as possible to send an email detailing all the conversation that was had, especially the decisions that were being made. And then in the next 24 to a week, ensure that you put any adjustment that you want to include into the slide and forward the deck to the team, so just in case they want to prep for that and have a deep understanding of some of the things that you discuss. This way you're building trust and not just showing up, you're following through on that. So in closing, I want to just reiterate some of the points that I mentioned. Try as much as possible to have your 3 questions answered before you even start your presentation. Ensure that you put enough work into your presentation. Ensure that your team is properly briefed. Ensure that you are ready for tough questions and you have your tough question framework very much ready. And most importantly, your post-meeting plan is actually set up. That's all it takes. So if this helped you, I hope you really learned a thing or two. If this helped you, subscribe for more project leadership content and drop a comment. What is your biggest steering committee challenge? My name is Olabisi, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.